Warraghiyagey was an Irishman who was loyal to his English king. He was a successful businessman as well as an Indian, and he helped the English win a battle that changed American history. He was plain William Johnson when he arrived in New York in 1738, at age 23 from a farm in Dublin. Though he didn't have any money, he had a relative who sent him up the Hudson River to manage a farm. Soon, Johnson had land of his own. Johnson became a fur trader and was known to be fair and honest. That was unusual. Many white traders tried to cheat the Indians. Johnson's honesty paid off. Before long, he owned more than 30 trading posts, from Detroit to Albany. He was called America's first chain store owner. He became rich, immensely rich. As previously mentioned, when Johnson first moved into the New York Territory, he didn't have any money of his own. Right away, he did a very sensible thing. He met his neighbors, the Mohawk Indians, and learned their language. Immediately he liked them, and they liked him. Johnson became a good friend of Tayanoga, the wise and regal sachem who was called Hendrik by the Dutch and the English. Eventually, the 6 nations of the Iroquois adopted Johnson as an honorary sachem and gave him the name Warraghiyagey, which means he who does much. The Mohawks saw Johnson as someone who could advocate for their interests. The Iroquois had united 6 tribes into a confederation, the 6 nations of the Iroquois. The tribes were united and strong. So when the English king received word that the English were in danger of losing the continent to the French and Indians, England knew they had to get the Iroquois to fight on their side. There was only one man who might make that possible: William Johnson. As Warraghiyagey, he called a great meeting with the Iroquois. They were uneasy as they had no wish to fight a white man's war or other Indians. But Warraghiyagey had learned the Indian art of oratory, and he ultimately persuaded his Indian friends to fight on the side of the British. He promised that their land would be protected, and he thought he could honor that promise. What happened was astounding. The small army of Native Americans and American colonists beat the French, all by themselves, without aid from the regular British army. It was a major victory, not easily won. The painted warrior named Warraghiyagey became a romantic hero, and the English king made him a baronet, which means he was now a knight and a sir. Warraghiyagey was a well-liked man, even to those who didn't want to like him. Some of the New Englanders, especially those from puritanical Massachusetts, had heard tales of the way Johnson lived, of the Indians who camped on his lawn, and of the grand parties he threw. They disapproved until they met him. A Massachusetts doctor who fought at Lake George wrote this in a letter home: "I must say he is a complete gentleman and willing to oblige and please all men, familiar and free of access to the lowest sentinel, a gentleman of uncommon smart sense and even temper. Never yet saw him in a ruffle or use any bad language. He is almost universally beloved and esteemed by officers and soldiers, for coolness of head and warmness of heart.